In 2021, four separate research teams in four different countries proved something that should have been impossible. They proved that a person who is fully asleep and actively dreaming can hear a question from the outside world, understand it, and send back a correct answer, all without waking up. Not approximately, not in a vague, suggestive way. A real question, a real answer, a real two-way conversation between a waking scientist and a dreaming human brain. And the real answer to how that is possible is far stranger than anything you have been told about sleep. Let's start with what lucid dreaming actually is. Most of the time when you dream, you do not know you are dreaming. The dream feels completely real. You accept its logic no matter how bizarre it becomes. You can fly off a building or talk to someone who died 20 years ago, and in the moment, it makes perfect sense. But occasionally something shifts. A small part of your brain wakes up inside the dream. You suddenly know that what you are experiencing is not real. You know you are asleep. You know you are dreaming. And in that moment, you have access to something extraordinary. You are conscious inside a world your own brain is building in real time. This state is called lucid dreaming, and researchers have known it exists since the 1970s, when a British psychologist named Keith Hearn first documented it in a laboratory. His subject was a man named Alan Worsley, who had trained himself to become lucid in dreams. The agreement was simple. When Worsley realized he was dreaming, he would move his eyes in a specific pattern, left-right, left-right, a signal the researchers could detect on the machine monitoring his eye movements. It worked. For the first time in history, a sleeping person sent a deliberate signal to the waking world from inside a dream. But what happened in 2021 was something else entirely. Four teams of researchers working independently in the United States, France, Germany, and the Netherlands all arrived at the same extraordinary result at almost the same time. They were able to have real-time conversations with lucid dreamers, not just receive signals, actual back-and-forth communication. The dreamers wore equipment that monitored their brain activity and eye movements. When a researcher asked a question, the dreamer heard it as a sound inside the dream, a voice, a tone. Sometimes it appeared as part of the dream itself, and the dreamer responded using eye movements or facial muscle contractions that the researchers could decode on the outside. The questions were simple. What is 8 minus 6? Have you heard a sound? Are you dreaming right now? The dreamers answered correctly, from inside their dreams, while fully asleep. One participant in the French study reported that the questions appeared to him as coming from the radio in his dream. Another described hearing a voice that seemed to come from outside the dream world, like a transmission from somewhere else. Their brains were asleep. Their bodies were paralyzed by the normal mechanism that prevents you from physically acting out your dreams. And yet, part of their consciousness was alert, aware, and capable of two-way communication with the waking world. Dr. Karen Concoli at Northwestern University, who led the American team, called it interactive dreaming. She described it as being like talking to an astronaut in space. The person is somewhere completely different. The rules of their environment are completely different, but communication across that boundary is possible. Here's what makes this stranger than it already sounds. During lucid dreaming, your brain is doing something it almost never does. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logical thinking, self-awareness, and decision-making, which is almost completely shut off during normal dreaming, partially reactivates. You become aware that you are dreaming because the part of your brain that monitors reality briefly comes back online inside a state where reality does not apply. You are simultaneously in two states at once: the unconscious dream state that your brain enters every night, and the conscious waking state that allows you to recognize, reason, and communicate, both running at the same time in the same brain. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences have documented the specific brainwave patterns that appear during lucid dreaming. They found that gamma wave activity, the same high-frequency waves associated with conscious awareness and heightened perception, spikes significantly during lucid dreams. The same waves that fire during intense concentration. The same waves that have been detected surging in the seconds after cardiac arrest. Your sleeping brain, during lucid dreaming, is producing some of the most active conscious brainwave patterns it ever generates. And you can train yourself to enter this state. Ancient Tibetan Buddhist monks were practicing what they called dream yoga for over 1,000 years before Western science documented lucid dreaming. They used the conscious dream state as a deliberate practice, a way to explore the nature of consciousness itself, to confront fears, to rehearse skills, to ask questions that the waking mind was too distracted or too defended to answer honestly. Modern sleep researchers have confirmed that lucid dreaming is a learnable skill. Reality testing, keeping a dream journal, setting intentions before sleep, the wake back to bed technique, where you wake briefly in the early morning and return to sleep with a deliberate focus on becoming aware in your dreams. All of these have been shown in controlled studies to increase the frequency of lucid dreams in people with no prior experience. The reason this matters goes beyond the fascinating novelty of talking to scientists while you sleep. Dreams are not noise. They are not meaningless static produced by a resting brain. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that the brain consolidates memory, processes emotion, and rehearses complex skills during sleep. The dream state is an active working environment, and lucid dreaming gives you conscious access to that environment while it is running. Think about what that means. While your brain is doing its deepest maintenance work, its most fundamental processing, you can be present and aware inside it, not just experiencing it passively, actually there, knowing where you are, able to observe and in trained practitioners to direct what happens. You spend roughly 2 hours in dream sleep every single night, a third of your life asleep. And science has now proven that at least some of that time you can be conscious, aware, and capable of communicating with the world you left behind when you closed your eyes. The border between sleeping and waking is not as solid as you thought. And somewhere inside a dream you are having right now, a version of you might be closer to waking than you realize.